Hi, everybody. We are back with What You Don't See, the podcast, and we have our special guest, Esther. I am not going to even try to pronounce her last name because I will butcher it. But how do you pronounce your last name?
Akindayomi.
Akindayomi.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And so I'm excited for this episode because I want to talk to Esther about her experience as a Black woman in a predominantly Latino area. You're originally from Nigeria,
Yes.
right? Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Okay, how long have you been in the U.S. and in the Valley?
I came to the United States at the age of 25. That
Okay.
was 17 years ago.
Okay.
And I've been in the Valley for 14 years.
Was that a
Oh,
culture?
wow.
Like, were you like in shock when you came to the United States?
No.
No, you were expecting it?
Because Nigeria was colonized by the British.
Yeah, that's
So-
why she speaks such perfect English.
Yeah, so I didn't know anything about the U.S., but just being able to, went to school in English, that's the primary language in the country, you know.
How many different languages do you speak?
English and Yoruba, my primary language.
Oh, okay, so
Yes.
2 languages.
Can you say something in that language?
I greet somebody
Like, introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
in my language.
Yeah.
Orúkọ mi ni Bukola Akindayomi. I can't speak it without English. Like, you get so kind of, I have to mix it.
It's
and
like
go back
Spanish.
To,
I have
I go
to
back to back. But I just said my name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty much what I said.
Okay,
So,
cool. So where did you move when you came to the U.S.?
So I came from Lagos, Nigeria, and came to Massachusetts. So I came straight to Massachusetts, spent about 6 months, then we moved to
Okay.
Rhode Island.
Okay.
So we spent 2.5 years. So 3
Okay.
years in total over there, Massachusetts and Rhode Island, before coming to the Valley.
What brought you down
I
here?
was about to say.
Yeah, it was work. My ex-husband is a professor at the university. So he was professor at University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. So we came to visit his brother in Texas. Then he was like, oh my God, I love Texas. Everything is big. So he started looking for a job. Then he got a job with Pan Am. So that's how we moved down here. Yeah.
So is that what brought you from Nigeria to Massachusetts? Was it your
yes, my
ex-husband?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he's a professor of accounting, so they moved him down here. The school needed accounting professors.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been in the McAllen area for 14 years.
14 years.
Okay, so I know that moving to Massachusetts and Rhode Island may have not been a shock, but moving to where there's like 99% Mexicans, what was that like?
The first time I stepped into the Valley was October 2010.
Uh-huh.
And I came in here and I was like, I love it. It feels like home.
Oh!
That was exactly how I felt. And I moved
Wow.
finally in December of that year.
Wow.
That was how I felt about here.
The culture, like
The culture, the people, the weather,
The food?
everything. The food, spicy, everything was like Nigeria.
Uh-huh.
So it was like home to me.
Aww.
Yes. And I always tell everybody, I'm like, I love the Valley. If someone asks me, do you like the Valley? I'm like, no, I love the Valley. And it loves me right back.
Oh, I
That's-
love that. Have you experienced any sort of like discrimination, do you feel, being a Black woman in the Valley?
Personally, no.
Okay.
Personally, no. Have I heard of other people? Yes. Have there been like a language used for one or two of my sons? Yes. But then I've never been one to dwell on that.
Okay.
So
to dwell on it. Yeah.
If somebody calls you Black, whatever, it's like, yeah, I'm Black. Like, why even get upset about it? But
Yeah.
that's my perspective of it,
Right,
not most
yeah.
people's perspective. And I say
Right.
to my kids, and that's how I've got to raise them, I'm like, embrace who you are. Someone calling you Black is not an insult. That's what you
That's
are.
what you are. That's not an insult. Yeah.
You know, so I tell them that all the time. You know, and I give them my experience. I'm like, I go into an event, you're probably maybe the only Black person there. Guess what? You stand out. Just make sure that when they come to you and talk to you, you have something to say.
Oh,
There you go. I like
You know,
that.
because
I
it
love
makes
your
you stand out.
perspective.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, you do stand out. And it's funny because, like, same thing with being Mexican. It's like, somebody can be like, you Mexican. And it's like,
Okay.
that's what we
Yeah.
are. Like, that's what I am. Like, that's not an insult.
And-
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
You
I'm
know,
very
like,
proud.
it's the same concept. But I know that, you know, just not being Latino in the Valley can probably be difficult. You know what I mean? At times.
Yeah, I got very comfortable with my sisters and my people here, and I even coined the word Blaxican. You know?
I love that.
You know, because yes, it's home, like family. And honestly, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I have actually moved at least 5 families here to the valley, and they're all black.
From Nigeria or
Not from
where?
Nigeria, from Rhode Island, from Dallas, from New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I've moved here to the valley.
Wow.
Because I always say, I truly, truly believe that the valley is the land that flows with milk and honey that the Lord gave to us.
Yes.
And I tell them, like, this is the real American dream. So I tell people, I'm like, come here. Like, it
Yes.
feels like, that's how I feel. So that's how I sell it.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's
So
true. The valley
nice.
is
Yeah.
beautiful. Like we have so much.
Yes.
We have so much here in the valley.
And
I
there's
love
so much opportunity to grow and make a name for yourself,
Yes.
whereas in maybe larger cities, what you're
You're
doing.
like a fish in
you're
the ocean.
Yes.
We're very family oriented.
Yeah.
very
in the valley.
family oriented. It's always warm here. It's November and we're like
literally, I went to
Look at
work
this.
today,
Half
and
naked.
one of the nurses I work with was like, Esther, I was trying to send you a message all weekend, and I was like, okay. And she showed me a picture she took with my son because she saw him playing basketball, and she just took a picture. Saw the last name on the back, was like, I think that's Esther's son, and called him and said, are you Esther's son? And he was like, yes. I just took a picture with him, and,
Yeah.
So I tell my kids, I'm like, everywhere you go in the valley, somebody's going to recognize you and
Yeah.
know you, so you better act right.
yes.
My boys used to. Well, the little one didn't. The older one always hated that. It's like, oh, mom. So I'm just gonna send you a picture they took of me at the coffee shop, or the Starbucks. The little one, he's like, hell yeah, that's my mom. He embraces that one. That one, he loves it. The other one is he's more of an introvert. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
everybody.
Go in the valley,
sitting
that's
around.
it. We
You
take
know.
it. You know each other. We care for
And then
each-
with social
yeah.
media, we post our kids all the time.
People know him.
People
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that. And they tell me, it's like, I saw your son, and it's like, I know him, and he looked at me like if I was crazy. I'm like, yeah, that's my older one.
Yeah. So do you feel like you have found like a community of like friends and family here?
100%. For me, I have, but my goal is to help my other black sisters do the same. There's a lot of black people, not just my black sisters, just the black people in the valley in general.
Uh-huh.
There's a ton of us here.
Okay.
There's a ton of us here, but I don't think everybody has the same perspective that I have. So take, for example, I went to New York with you guys, and it's like, we're going for a Latina conference. But yes, it didn't matter.
It was so much fun.
Yes, but that's not how everybody feels. So I'm trying as much as possible to bring a lot of the black community out to get more involved. Even though for themselves, for their kids.
I would love that. I would
Yes.
love for there to be more diversity
Well,
here.
Viva in the Valley.
Yeah.
the valley.
I would
Yeah,
love.
just do that.
I would love for there to
Yeah.
be like more like integration where like children, they don't, it doesn't phase them.
Yes.
They don't think like, oh, that's somebody who doesn't look like me. You know what I mean? I would love to see more diversity here.
And for someone like me, to be honest, I never had to look at the color of my skin until I came to the United States. Because it's like everybody around you was black.
Yeah.
So you never even paid attention, my color is this. Then you came here and it's like, it's a thing.
I know race is
That's interesting that
a
you say it like that.
race
Yeah,
is
because I never
That
had
it's,
to.
it's a thing in the
and
United
it's not
States.
a- and it's
because
not a
everybody
thing in other
yes, it's not a
places.
thing in other places. Like, you don't really look at the color of your skin or you're black. And there are a lot of foreigners in Nigeria,
Yeah.
but nobody pays attention or talks about it.
Right.
But you come here, then it's like, I remember when I first moved down here and I was trying to start, because I have a degree in accounting. That's what I have from back home. So coming here, going to the healthcare industry, I started from the ground up.
Okay.
So I was doing the CNA class, and there were a couple of girls, and they failed it twice or whatever, and they would always say, "Oh, it's because the teacher is racist." And I'm like, and this is me
What?
fresh from Nigeria, and I'm like, but the exams are in multiple choice. So if the answer is A and you put A, you can fail.
Yeah.
But because it's so ingrained that it
Yeah.
has to be something because you're racist.
Yeah.
But it's not. Most of the time it's
Yeah.
not.
Multiple choice.
But it's multiple choice question. If the answer is A,
That's
and you put A, you're gonna pass.
Yeah.
I love your perspective on life and
Yes.
on color. Like, it's just, you are who you are, and that's just it. Like,
Yeah.
why does it have to be a thing?
Well, in the U.S., I mean, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer again, but I mean, slavery existed in the U.S.
It did,
and
yes.
you and your ancestors are not a victim
No.
of slavery. You're
Yes.
from Nigeria. Your ancestors were not
Yes.
transported in the slave trade to the U.S., so
Yes.
you don't have that trauma.
Yes, and I agree, because I had to learn the African American culture.
African American culture is
Completely
different,
different.
than African culture.
Immigrant, completely different.
Totally different. African Americans are, their ancestors were enslaved, and they
Yes.
carry that trauma,
Yes.
and it's something that I do think we need to recognize.
Yes.
But your experience is so different.
Very different.
Because your
they never
ancestors
had the
never
trauma.
lived through that trauma of the Atlantic slave trade. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
No, and I had to come to that point because I
Yes.
couldn't understand it.
You
for a
couldn't
while,
understand
too.
why.
Yes,
Yeah.
and eventually when I met more people that were African American and I
Yeah.
understood their perspective, I'm like, I get it. Like,
What is
I co-
Marsha? Is she?
She's Canadian. She's from Jamaica. She's really not.
So
She's-
she also had to learn it. That's because I remember she mentioned something about having
Yes.
to learn it.
But her husband is African American.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Terry's.
Yes,
Terry.
her husband is, but she's Jamaican and Canadian. She was born in Canada, but her parents are Jamaican.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different experience
It
for African Americans whose ancestors came
And
unwillingly.
they treat you differently in
you know?
America.
Yes, they do.
Take, for example, if the cops stop my son because of his last name, they have a little bit more respect for him than somebody with a Jackson or a Johnson or an Anderson.
Isn't
or
that
whatever.
weird?
It's weird, but it's the truth.
That's crazy.
It's
they have
so-
more respect for him.
Like, it's different. They look at them differently.
Like they're like, oh, you're not
African American.
You're not
Yeah.
African American. You're literally from Africa. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, oh, you didn't grow up in the streets of inner city Detroit.
not
from the
you
hood.
know,
Yes.
exactly.
They
It's
actually treat them differently. Yes, 100%.
It's something I never thought about.
Yes.
it's
they-
something we should be thinking about.
Yeah.
Something. It's conversations that need
It's
to be
things
had.
that a lot of people don't think about and things that we should talk about. And I will say that us, as living here in the Valley, we have sort of the same perspective as you, where we don't really see our color because everybody's brown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we
not my
walk down the
husband.
street and everybody is Latino. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So there's not the same. There's not that like racism within the Valley amongst Latinos because we're all Latinos. In the
Yeah.
same way in Nigeria, there was not that racism
Yeah.
among Black people because everybody's Black.
Yeah.
You
But
know
my
what I
husband
mean?
says that some people here in the valley don't like white people because they're like they'll go to a restaurant and they won't serve him.
I'm
And until
talking
I
about
show up.
I'm talking about for us.
I'm just
you
saying,
know what I
there's
mean?
still the other way around.
But there is racism
sometimes.
in the Valley because I have seen people complain about it. So that much I can tell you. Just because I'm
Racism
not,
towards who?
towards minorities.
Okay.
From yes, there is, because I've had people talk about it. You know, I've had even Viva get involved in some of the cases.
Oh,
Yes, I can tell you
wow.
that for sure. They've set up different things just to make people more aware about culture, be
Right.
more culturally sensitive, and all of that. Just because I have not personally experienced it, does
There
not
is
mean
racism.
there
toward-
is.
Yeah.
in the
Oh,
Valley.
yeah.
Yes, there
Latino.
is.
I mean,
for
I feel
sure.
like Latinos sometimes like we can be closed-minded, and you know sometimes I don't know how to say this without sounding weird because I don't personally feel that way, but there are Latinos who are like, oh, I don't know Black people, I'm going to stay away from them.
Or
You know what I
even
mean?
white people.
Or I don't know
they
Asians,
don't
I'm
like
going to
white
stay away from them. White people, I'm going to. It's you know what I mean? Like
You're
so there
not,
is.
you're not Hispanic.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Well,
there
is a white community, and I don't want to say underground, but there is a white community here in the Valley, and it's a clique, and they're racist towards Mexico.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's like you're living in the valley
And they're racist towards
and
Mexicans?
you're racist
Towards Mexicans.
towards Mexicans.
Like you, in order for you to go, you won't see just anyone at their parties, and it's by
Invite
That's
only.
so invite only,
weird.
and it's the older.
I was like, we never got invited. Hello.
It's the older white. It's a certain community that I've seen and I've been introduced to, and I'm not accepted, right? And a lot of my friends are white, so they talk about it's like there's that underground white community that is very racist, and a lot of them because I know who they are, they're around us, like they
Yeah.
go to our events,
yeah.
but they're not gonna feel. But if you go into their private
circle.
parties or their little
Yeah.
circles,
You're uninvited.
It's very cliquish.
very cliquish. And I was because I was asking questions about that, and a lot of them are the ones that have the Trump flag in the back of their truck, right? Like they're extremists. So it's crazy that there is that white community, but there's the Mexicans, the old school Mexicans that don't like
Black
black
people.
And it's like, I thought at some point I used to be scared. I thought my mom was racist because I had a friend that was black and she did not, and I would joke around with her that I was going to date him, and she would get mad at me. And then she voted for Obama, and I was so proud of her, right? I'm like, okay, because I never wanted to ask that question.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then finally I did, and she's like, well, it's because I always wanted light skinned kids, but even you married a light skinned guy, and your kids are dark. My kids are dark. And she would always say, at 4 months they're gonna get lighter, right?
You know, it's funny because my kids, our neighbor is our neighbor's their black family, right? And the first time my daughter ever saw her, a black person, because they had never been around anybody black in their school, it was when the little girl came over. They saw each other in the street, right? And they were like, oh, can we play? And they played together, right? She came home that afternoon and she said, Mommy, her skin's very dark. And I said, yes, baby, she's got a different color than you. I said, but she's the same person. Just, you guys are playing, right? You guys had fun. She's like, yes, I really like her, but her skin's very dark. Like she couldn't.
It's just different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something that she wasn't used to.
She wasn't used to it. And
Yeah.
I said, yes. I said, it's called black. I said, you're called brown. Look at Daddy. She goes, he's very white. And I said, yeah.
Very white.
You know, so that was the first time she had ever processed
The concept.
the concept of skin color. And she was like 6.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I would love for there to be more diversity in the Valley, so it's not a weird thing. So it's not like, Mommy, why is her skin color darker? Or why is her skin color lighter? You know what I mean? If there's more diversity,
Communication.
It wouldn't be.
it wouldn't be like a thing,
thing.
you know? So I would love to see more black families
But to be
immigrating
honest
to
with
the
you, I think it will always be a thing in the nation regardless,
Yeah.
to be honest. You know, the only thing I tell people, at least those who I tell, I always say, God put you exactly where you're supposed to be an influence. If He wants to take you to Washington to be an influence, He'll take you there. So here in the Valley for me, and those around me, it's, people ask me, Esther, do you speak Spanish? And I'm like, no, I speak love language. So I can go anywhere. Everybody understands that. So I try to say that more because everybody understands love.
Yes.
Language, you know, you touch somebody, they feel you hug
Yes.
them, you know. I think
your energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just feel like language separates us more than brings us together.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
I agree.
That's beautiful.
I know.
Oh, it was such a good session. Oh, and she asked her, you didn't get to say what you asked her in the beginning and what she said.
Oh. Well, I'm not done interrogating her yet.
I still have lots of questions.
But I will say that when Esther first got here, she came to talk about her career because she is a CRNA, certified registered nurse anesthetist, and I was like, you know what? I really want to talk to you about being a black woman in the RGV. And she was like, okay. I'm like, are you comfortable with that? And she's like, I'm comfortable everywhere. I'm comfortable all the
Esther.
time. And I was like, that is such a good response. You know what I mean? Because I feel like and I think a large part of it has to do with the fact that you didn't grow up in the U.S., so you don't feel that same level of like trauma that a lot of African American families grow up with. You know what I mean? And I think that their trauma is valid and should be recognized. But I can see why you were like, I don't get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Initially.
Initially.
Until I got to understand them. Because I didn't get it at all initially. I was like, why? You know?
Yeah.
But eventually I understood the pain. But also, I'm also a believer of, you know, it's been years.
Yeah.
And your parents have fought for that. Your grandparents, great-grandparents, they fought for us to be here. You know, so at some point, you don't want your past to hold you back.
Right.
You know, you
I
got to
agree with
move
that.
forward.
You don't want to live in trauma.
Yeah, so it's something that you have to completely heal from, especially because your parents won. That's the way I look. If you look at it like they fought a good battle and they won, then you come from a place of winning more than the place of being a victim of it, because they did win.
I love that. I love that you
You
say
know,
that.
so
Yeah.
I think the shift is necessary.
Well,
Yeah.
Hispanics were also slaves too.
Even white people were slaves. When I went to New York and did the
Yeah.
New York City, they have this boat ride that they take you.
white people were slaves. White
They
people
were
were
slaves
slaves.
before black people.
They still are. Look at the sex trafficking.
I know.
Yeah, they were slaves
Yeah.
before black people. So at the end of the day, it's just,
Justin Bieber
humans.
and P. Diddy.
Justin Bieber.
I know.
I'm sorry, that was
Oh
a joke.
my
It was
God.
not a good joke. Take
Sarah.
that out. Take that out.
No, leave it in.
Let the hate comments roll in.
Oh gosh.
So, okay, so you mentioned your ex-husband, right? Are you
Yes.
currently single?
I'm dating.
Oh, you're dating. Is he
Yes.
black or is he Latino?
He's black.
Oh, okay.
He's black. He's African American.
Oh, okay. So he's
Yes.
from the U.S.
Yes,
Okay.
he's from here. He's from Louisiana. He lives in Dallas.
Oh, okay. So you're in a
Yes.
long distance relationship. Are you
Yes.
thinking of moving over there?
No. At least not now.
No.
Yeah.
No, not because I'm trying to bring him to the valley. I
Yes.
want to bring more people to the
Bring
valley.
more people to the valley. Bring more
Yes.
people
We
who are
gotta
not
find
from
him
the
a job.
valley to the
Yeah.
valley.
Dallas is a good
How did
place.
y'all meet?
Online.
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 Did you try dating here ever?
So I've only dated black people.
Okay.
And that's nothing to do with being racist. It's just what that's all I've dated.
Yeah.
Who you have in
So,
common with. Like that's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I've dated.
And you like what you
nothing,
like. Yeah.
And nothing about me not being, I've had white people being interested, I've had
Yeah.
Hispanic people being interested. So
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with interest. It's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I met him online. So when I first joined, it was Inch, and when I first added myself to it, was a friend that told me to, and I did. And I put my address here, and all I got was Hispanic people
Yeah.
showing up, and I was like, oh, Lord Jesus. Then, and I still have a lot of friends, don't get me wrong. Then if my friend said you have to put maybe San Antonio, wherever you want. So I said, you know what, I hate Houston.
Yeah.
Not that I hate Houston, I just don't, there's tons of Nigerians in Houston. And nothing against Nigeria, I just didn't want to date them. Yes, 'cause
Interesting.
Before I decided to date intentionally, I was already like 5 years out of my marriage. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, now I want to date intentionally. So I made a list of what I wanted.
Okay.
I was very clear. I had
Okay.
clarity on it.
And not Nigerian.
I just didn't want to date Nigeria.
How come?
So my personal perspective of it is, because I'm Nigerian, there's an expectation an average Nigerian man have of me. That's very different from someone that is non-Nigerian. So I don't want to be that.
It's like
Okay.
Hispanic man
It's
with
kind of
Hispanic
Hispanic,
women.
yes.
Yes, I didn't want to be
Woman.
that. I graduated from that.
Yes, it's kind of like,
Culture.
Like,
the
Yeah.
machismo that we have.
yes, like
All
say,
of it.
Oh yes.
All of it. You can imagine going to work, you work with tons of men, they see what you're made of, your
Yeah.
brain, your wisdom, all of it, and you come back home to the man that you are in bed with and doesn't see any of that.
oh,
Then you're like, they don't,
yeah.
it's like, because they see themselves. That's
Yeah.
the way I look at
Oh,
it. You're
so
the
Nigerians
man.
are kind of like Mexicans.
You know, so it's
Yeah.
like, okay.
We're like,
It sounds like it. It
Yeah,
sounds.
sounds
It
like
sounds
it.
like
well,
it.
not all Mexicans. Let me take
But
it
it's
back.
not all, too.
Like,
and
yeah.
it's not all Nigerian.
the
Like,
machismo Mexican.
yeah, it's not all. But I just didn't want to do that anymore. And I was just like, okay, different. So I was very particular.
So how many
about-
kids do you have?
I have 2 boys.
You have 2 boys.
Yeah, 16
Aw.
and 13.
Wow.
Yes, 2 boys.
That's all. And do they love it here?
Oh, they love the valley. They're very involved. They go everywhere. Someone knows their mother. Or I go somewhere and people tell me about my kids because they're also very involved, like in schools
Yeah.
and activities and stuff like that.
Well, thank you for loving the valley. Thank you for choosing to stay here.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
give
you.
some really good insight.
Thank you for
insightful
choosing
lessons.
to love us and our culture in the valley, and I would love for you to bring more Nigerians here to the valley. We love diversity.
Yeah.
And talk about Viva before we close out. What is Viva?
So it's Village in the Valley. So Village in the Valley, their goal is to be able to showcase the Black experience while bringing all cultures together in the valley. Because believe it or not, there are different cultures in the valley. So that's what we do. And so they've been able to get involved in different community events. I know the one that's coming up right now is they're going to be giving Thanksgiving food to about 200 seniors during Thanksgiving time. We've been doing it since it started. So yeah, so they just,
It's every first Friday.
every first Friday they have the first Friday
Been trying
meeting.
to go. Yeah.
Yes, they do. But other than that, they have the Juneteenth event.
Yes.
They do, like I said, a Thanksgiving meal. Sometimes they get involved in some, political talks so people can know what's going on, educate people about electoral candidates and stuff like that. So they do. We have the community closet, and that's been amazing because we had some donations, some grants from PNC, and we're able to like almost make like a boutique. So you're going into a place, people are going, like it was real set up nice. People go in there, pick up shoes and clothes and everything for free.
I love
Because from
that.
donations that
It's
people
community
donated,
in
yes,
the
community
closet.
closet.
So I can go drop off stuff for
Yes,
you, and
yes.
you won't sell it.
No, they
It'll
won't
be
sell
free.
it. No, it will be free. Yeah.
Okay, then I need
Yes.
to send me the address because
Okay.
I need to get rid of a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to do
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I don't want to take it somewhere where they're gonna sell it.
No, yes. No, they don't sell it. They give it people that can wish they have pictures online. People come in, they take bags and they shop for their kids, for themselves and everything. But it's not, everything is free. They give everything out for free.
Okay.
And do you all prioritize Black families?
Well, that's the goal.
The
so
goal,
so that
yeah.
we can showcase the different, because Black is also very diverse, just like, Latin America.
Yeah.
So just to showcase the different Black cultures that actually
Yeah,
even exist in the valley.
I love
Yes.
that.
Because there's Nigerian, there's a Cameroonian, there's Ghanaians, there's African Americans, everybody, Caribbeans. It's just so many.
Yep,
Diversity,
there
even in the
really
Black
is. And I
community.
feel like a lot of people don't get that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they don't get like Afro-Latina. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like there's a lot of Black women who are from the Caribbean, they speak Spanish.
Yes.
And people are just like, what? I don't get it. Are they Black or are they Hispanic? I'm like, it's more complicated. It's more complex than that. Why do you need to fit people in your
Into
little,
something,
you know
yes,
what I
cocoon.
mean? Like, a lot of people, Cardi B, she identifies as Afro-Latina. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? She is Black presenting, but she's from a Latin family. She's from
Yeah.
the Caribbean. And so there's just, there's so much nuance within Black
so much
people.
culture.
There's so much
And
culture.
there's beauty in it.
And there's beauty in all of it.
There
So much.
is. There's so much beauty in it. That's why I don't understand why people feel there needs to be. I think what really holds us down as humanity is trying to conform. Like, it's okay for us to all be different. Why conform to be the same
Right,
thing?
yeah.
But that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're so lucky to have you here in our community. Thank you for staying. Thank you for loving us.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you for sharing your experience. We
Yes.
really
Thank
appreciate you
you.
sharing your experience.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions for Esther, please leave them in the comments, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.